Good morning, children. Welcome to our YouTube channel, Academia Ambala. I am Mrs. Preetinder Shaheed. Today, we will do a chapter from the book It So Happened, and the name of the chapter is Children at Work. Sadly, when we refer to children in a country, this is the scenario in most parts of the country. Child labor is rampant, and human trafficking is a large scale business. Most of these children belong to the lowermost ranks of the society. Forget schooling and hygiene. These children do not have access to basic necessities like food and water. Moreover, hundreds of children are being continuously pushed into working at a very young age. And in this story, Children at Work, we shall read about two such children and their story of survival. The story is an extract from the book From Trash on Ragpicker Children and Recycling, written by Geeta Wolf, Anushka Ravishankar, and Norijit Singh. But before we read the story, let me throw some light on the lives and works of the authors. Geeta Wolf has authored over more than 17 books for children and adults. She is a highly original and creative voice in contemporary Indian publishing. Many of her children's books have won major international awards. Anushka Ravishankar has successfully carried the nonsense verse tradition of Dr. Seuss, Edward Lear, and Lewis Carroll. She is an internationally acclaimed Indian writer. Anushka has over 18 books to her credit. Arijit Singh is a graphic designer from Ahmedabad. Since 1988, he has worked on diverse graphic, exhibition, and textile design related projects and has exhibited his work in Japan, Europe, and India. He is also a well known illustrator. The story Children at Work is based on the real life experiences of Felu, a runaway village child, and a girl of similar age, Jaya, who is surviving in a big city all by herself as a ragpicker. Later, Velu also ends up as a ragpicker in the big city and is faced with the harsh realities of life. On the streets, let's look into the details of the story to know more about these children. Velu, an 11-year-old boy, had run away from home. He reached Chennai Central in the Kanyakumari Express without a ticket. Luckily, the ticket collector did not come to the unreserved compartment. He tried to sleep near the door of the compartment, but the group of men, shouting while playing cards, deprived him of any sleep. After getting off, he sat on a bench on the platform. He felt miserable and exhausted. For 2 days, he had survived on peanuts and a piece of jaggery. Then, suddenly, he heard a rough voice. When he turned around amidst the crowd, he figured out that a girl of his age, dressed shabbily and carrying a huge sack on her shoulder, was calling him. She was picking up the dirty plastic cups from the platform and stuffing them into her sack. She asked Velu his name and inquired whether he had run away from home. Naturally, Velu did not want to disclose anything to the girl. Actually, he had run away because his father was an alcoholic and would beat him and take away all the money that he and his sister earned for a living. During their conversation, when hunger pangs made Velu press his stomach in pain, the girl told him that she could help him find some food. And when the girl started to walk away, Velu sat there, whether he should go with the girl or not. Eventually, he decided to follow her. Pretty sad, isn't it? And this is the state of many children in our country. After a bit of contemplation, Velu followed the girl. He caught up with her as she was leaving the station. With passing vehicles and smoke and dust all around, Velu could not cross the busy road outside the station, so the girl dragged him across, criticizing him for his carelessness. As they started walking on the pavement along the road, Velu saw a huge signboards on the sides of the road, but he could not read them as they were all written in English. when the girl turned towards a wide flyover. While following her, Velu kept looking at the huge buildings, towers, and roads. Looking at this, the girl teased him and, pointing towards a central jail building, told Velu that he must be careful lest he would be caught by the police and put there. Well, you see, many times the street children are considered as thugs or petty thieves and held by the police. Then Velu wanted to know what the girl carried in her sack. She informed him that she carried bottles and papers, etc. Although Velu wanted to know more, he felt too shy to ask. Have you ever tried walking barefoot on tar and concrete roads? Well, it's really hot. It feels as if your feet are burning. And Velu felt the same as he walked down the sun blasted tar road. You see, he was used to walking on mud road, which don't turn hot with the rising temperature. Moreover, he was soaked with sweat. On top of that, he was hungry. Well, almost after an hour, they stopped in front of a big building called Sri Raja Rajeshwari Prasanna Kalyana Mandapam. As Velu wondered if they were going to eat at this place, the girl led him to a garbage bin overflowing with rubbish behind the building. Amidst goats and flies, she picked up a squashy banana and a vada and gave them to Velu. Velu had no choice but to eat the leftovers. The girl told Velu that he can buy food only when he had money of his own. So, next, when you throw away your food just because you don't like it, think about children like Velu. On the other hand, the girl could only find one banana for herself. She told Velu that if he wanted more food, he would have to wait till lunch. She picked up a couple of bottles from the heap and threw it into her sack and walked off. Velu realized that if the girl left him, he had no idea where he was and what to do. So he ran after her again. Here we got to know that the girl is called Jaya. She allowed Velu to accompany her home. Now let's come to the concluding part of the story. After about half an hour, Jaya and Velu reached a place called Triplicane, which Jaya indicated to be the Buckingham Canal. Velu remarked that the houses are strange because in his village the houses are made of mud and palm leaf. Jaya went around to one of the huts and dumped her sack outside it and picked up an empty one. She threw a pair of old shoes at Velu and pushed a sack and a stick into his hand and asked him to come with her. Velu was confused and thought what work she would want him to do with those things. The only work he had ever done was on the landowner's farm where he weeded and took cows out to graze. So when he inquired if there are any farms, Jaya informed him that there are no farmers in the city and she was a rag picker. Velu had never heard anything about people collecting things from rubbish bins to earn a living. So Jaya clarified the fact that they don't collect rubbish but only paper, plastic, bottles, glasses, and such other things. With that, getting impatient, she told Velu that she did not have time to waste and go on explaining him things that someone else might pick up all the rubbish. But Velu did not move there as he was too stern to react, and he was thinking that he had not run away and come to this big place to dig through garbage bins. But eventually he decided to go with Jia, thinking that he would soon find a better job. What a sad situation for a boy of 11. And that brings us to the end of the story. But before I wind up, let's understand the theme of the story. As we read, the story throws light on the sad state of children in our country. On one end of the society, we have children staying in posh localities, spending money on lavish toys and food, and on the others. And we have children like Velu and Jaya who face dire circumstances to meet ends. Jaya, who is a ragpicker, seems to have compromised with her situation. She appears to be very mature for her age and takes things in a stride. Velu, who has run away from his village, lands in a similar situation. He too ends up compromising with the situation and even eats food from a garbage bin. Eventually, he realizes two ragpicking along with Jaya and Velu are only two children to name amongst the thousands that we may find on the streets. They do odd jobs, beg, and even take up criminal activities to meet ends. So, the least we can do is think about these young souls when we throw away the last bite of chapati, or even when we leave tap flowing, or the fan switched on for no reason. By doing these little things, we will definitely benefit society in the long run. Think about it. For now, I shall take your leave. Keep learning and stay fit.